Last year, I was babysitting this family, and how I got the job was through a friend I went through a writing program with when I was 16 years old. They had posted on their Instagram story, "Hey, does anyone want to take over my babysitting job in the East Village?" And I was like, perfect. I've worked with kids before. So he had set it up for me to talk to the mom of the kids and before I go see if I'm a good fit or not. And so the mom calls me and she's like really she's like really cool, and she's in a rush. You could tell she's like doing stuff on the phone because it's her oldest daughter's birthday. She has two kids. At this point, the oldest was turning 6 and the youngest was 2. And so it's a 6-year old's birthday party, and the mom is getting ready for it or picking things up for it. And she's on the phone with me, just like asking me questions. And then she mentions the kids' zodiac signs. Now, I didn't ask her. And so I just like knew, okay, this is gonna be a perfect fit for me. But anyways, she's like, yeah, I'm at the store right now. I'm picking up, I'm not gonna say her daughter's name, but I'm picking up the cake for her daughter's birthday. And she was like, my daughter, she's a double Scorpio and she's obsessed with natural disasters. And so she's having a tsunami themed birthday party. Yeah, she was having a tsunami themed birthday party. And she's a double Scorpio. Uh, if you know anything about Scorpios, they're ruled by the planet Mars and Pluto. Mars is the planet of force and aggression and assertion and amongst other things. And then Pluto has that, like, noir influence to it. So yeah, Scorpios are very, like, interested in, like, death and rebirth and stuff. And so she tells me that her oldest is a double Scorpio and that her youngest is a double Libra. And when I ended up babysitting for these kids, that totally checked out too. She was such a Libra, so like she had this innate sense of like fairness and like sharing and kindness, and also was just so funny and was always making jokes. I remember one time I was making like spaghetti for them in their kitchen, and the 2-year old, she's sitting at her table in the kitchen and she's playing with two unicorns and they're talking to each other. And I hear her say, like, she's pretend one of the unicorns talking to the other one, and then I hear her say, "What the, like, what the fuck, right?" So she's, I'm like, what? Like, I was like, did she hear me say that? Is she repeating me? And so I go up to her and I ask her, I was like, why did you say that? And, I had to make sure it wasn't because I said it or something. And she was like, I was like, where did you hear, like, I was like, what, where did you hear that? And she said, my dad. And her older sister in the other room was like, it's true. He says it all the time, blah, blah, blah. And so I tell her, I'm like, don't say that. Only like adults can say it, you know? And so she says, okay. 5 minutes later, she comes up to me and she's like holding one of the unicorn dolls. And she's like, Vishwa, since this is the mommy unicorn, can she say it? I was like, you are so funny. And she was already laughing. Like, she knew it was funny. Um, she would crack me up, dude. And then the mom, double Aries, and the dad was a triple Aquarius. I mean, they're all still these signs. Like, the dad is a triple Aquarius. He is very triple Aquarius in the sense that he's like always in his own like world. Like you could tell he's just like in his own world. And he's like a painter, but also like works at a startup. He's like cool, but like kind of like a little not but like there would be times where he would be like the kids would be, it's time for them to go inside and he's not answering the door. And then his double Scorpio daughter would be like, he does this all the time. And yeah, and then the double Aries mom would get home and be pissed. But I love that family and I think about them all the time. I actually bumped into them at the park the other day and it was so cute. The now 3-year-old was like, I'm bigger now. And I'm like, dude, you are. But yeah. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, there was one more funny thing that I guess their mom would talk to them about like astrology, or I guess that's like, maybe it's like a thing, or I know it's a thing now, for like, whatever. Okay, so she, I remember when I first started babysitting them, I went to their house, and I was sitting in their kitchen, and the older one was like, what are you? And I was like, what am I? She was like, are you an Aquarius? And I was like, I'm an Aquarius rising. And she was like, okay, because my mom said Aquariuses don't belong in the kitchen. Her dad is a triple Aquarius, and just like knowing the context of that, it's hilarious. But yeah, another thing like the double Scorpio would be like, she would always be like, she would ask me so many questions about like death, and like was so aware of like, she would have me read her, like when she was sick, she had this like big book about like the body and like diseases, and she would have me like read about it. She'd be like, can you go to the kidney section? And like she was just like obsessed with just knowing about things, and like she would ask me to tell her hurt stories, like stories about people getting hurt and stuff. I'm like, you're such a Scorpio. Yeah,